Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And our song this evening will be Invocatory Kirtan, Ganesha, Saraswati, and Guru. Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Jaya Ganesha, Pahimam, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Rakshama. Jaya Saraswati, Jaya Saraswati, Jaya Saraswati, Pahimam, Shri Saraswati, Shri Saraswati, Shri Saraswati, Rakshama. Jaya Guru, Shiva Guru, Hare Guru Ram, Jagat Guru, Param Guru, Sad Guru Sham, Ara Guru, Advait Guru, Ananda Guru, Om Chit Guru, Chitana Guru, Chinmaya Guru, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti,
We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Puji Atman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji in Miami, Florida. Today is June 8th, 2018, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Tulsi Ramayana. This is series 2016, class number 108. And now, Puji Atman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji.
Om Nilambuja Shyamal Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayaka Charu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side. He is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. Sri Ramcharitmanas in Balakanda, verse number 272. And presently, Sage Parashuram has entered the royal assembly where the Shiva's bow was broken by Lord Rama and is about to join with Sita, but what we call Rang Mein Bhang. Oh. All people were so thrilled that Rama broke the bow. And Sita was going to marry him, put a garland on. And there was a little ruffle going on with kings. There were two types of people, people who were good-hearted, they were so happy. There were people who were selfish, Asuri type. People come in two categories, Sur and Asur. The whole divine movement is like a music. And no one can stay without music. Either you follow the right type of tune or wrong type of tune. If you follow right type of tune, it is Sur movement. It brings about great qualities, good qualities, humility, charity, generosity, absence of anger and hate, all good virtues. But if we're out of tune, it brings out all that is negative. So those who were out of tune, they began to spoke against Rama and against King Janaka, who had created all that. And while they were blabbering, and the good kings, those who were in tune, they were so happy and describing how wonderful it is an occasion to behold Rama, the life's greatest fulfillment. While that was going on, Parshuram walks in, suddenly enters, like among the clouds, suddenly thunder starts. A shocking presence. But behind that, there is a profound allegorical teaching, and that I will touch upon. Allegorical teaching is, Parshuram is now going to bring about the greatness. Rama broke the bow. It was very simple for him. It was just like a tender stalk for him. But how much did it imply, breaking that Shiva's bow? Parshuram highlights it. Parshuram Lakshmana dialogue is created to highlight the great significance of Rama's breaking the bow versus people breaking so many bows. If you are moving in your life, there are challenges come in your life. Every challenge is a bow. You go on breaking it. But in the world of relativity, as long as you want to attain perfection in this world, that is not possible. But what is possible? That you progress in the world. Parshuram represents that type of spiritual movement which is in this early stage, allowing the soul to progress. And that's what brought out in Parshuram's personality and his story. And he is an avatara, God's incarnation in two stages. Parshuram is in one stage, helping you to prosper, succeed in the world. Success as it is recognized by the masses. And that's important. But that type of Parshuram level of spiritual movement, that level is not the highest. Highest is not success in the terms of coming back into the world and become like great personalities with tremendous fame and name. Success lies in attaining liberation. Great men have come and gone, millions of them. So that's, you remember the story of Alexander. Alexander's mother grieves when she sees Alexander dying. Alexander's mind has become philosophical. He tells the mother that come to me on a full moon day in the cremation ground after I'm buried and call out to me. I will come and will talk to you. So I'm not being separated from you. In the story, anything happens. So she grieves a lot when he dies, but waits for that time, goes into cremation ground. In the dark, in the night, illumined by full moon, she shouts, "My dear Alexander, here am I, your mummy." And thousand voices come through the breeze, coming through the trees. There are millions of Alexanders. Whom do you want? That's a picture of worldly success. And Parshuram allows you to attain that success by cutting down and rajas. Parshuram is described as a personality who has a grudge against warrior class, Kshatriya class, because it is a Kshatriya class that brought about the end of his father. That story I have touched upon it. I am not going into its details. But this meaning behind it, the Parshurams created a pledge that will free the earth of the Kshatriyas, which he couldn't keep because it couldn't be done. What it implies, rajas. Too much distraction enters your mind. And behind the distraction, gross impurities called mala. The mala-based vikshepa, that does not allow people to succeed in this world, even in a normal, I'm talking in a normal way, not a spiritual success. And Parshuram creates that type of movement, encouraging people to be dynamic, to cut down their tamas, cut down their rajas. What does that imply? It simply implies, in the storyline it implies something different picture. But the real process, recognize that you are sinking into laziness, dullness, frustration, sense of complete surrender to darkness. Bring Parshuram. He comes with his axe. If the cause of trouble is not visible, he will break the ground and bring it, go to the root of it. And then there are impurities that are manifest. Some are deep in unconscious, some are manifest. Parshuram goes on breaking them. In sadhana movement, you are aware of your impurities. And when you see an impurity, you build up muscle. I'm going to break it. It is Parshuram within you. So the more Parshuram's power enters, avatara enters in this level, you see your success. And you find it in your diary. How you were 3 years back, how you are now, how you will be later. With your success, you pat upon your ego. How great am I? If you end up like that, then Parshuram avatar doesn't bring about complete conclusion, success of your life. That avatar must be led to another level, higher level of fulfillment, Ram, where your attainment of virtue is not a matter of force. The attainment of virtue is a matter of just like put a flower and put fragrance on it. That's one way of attaining virtue. Another, allow the tree to bring out flower and waft its fragrance. In the early stage, people count the virtues and vices. I have these vices, and these are the counter virtues. On January, I will practice ahimsa. February, humility. March, something else. All that is perfectly good. But that's a stage, just like you are studying in education. You are in a primary stage and it's perfectly good. But the laws of primary level are transcended when you go to higher level. And compare both, then you realize Parshuram and Ram level are fighting. So that's the subtle point behind it. And broad highlight, one level seeks perfection, but it doesn't break the illusion, doesn't break your love for returning to the world. It doesn't break the cycle of birth and death. Parshuram level keeps it intact. That is Shiva's bow. And dare not anyone break it. Parshuram keeps an eye open on it. If anyone has broken it, Parshuram has to now test him that he was the right person to do that. Each university follows that law. All students are meant to pass and go into higher grades. But the educational system keeps an eye that people should not sneak into the higher level. They must pass the test. Follow that simple way to understand. Now come to the drama level. Matu pitahi jani soch bas karasi mahi se kishor garbhan ke arbhak dalan parasumora ati ghor. Now in the process of the story, Lakshmana has brought about agitation in the mind of Parshuram. Parshuram entered the royal assembly asking for who is the culprit who broke Shiva's bow. Show him before me and I'm going to punish, destroy. And Lakshmana confronted the sage and said, "O sage, why are you so concerned for breaking an old bow? In my early days, I broke so many bows. Nobody shouted at me. And you are shouting at for this little bow." You are being given in a very subtle way the challenges that you are facing in day-to-day life, and you break them. That stage is a childish stage. It's good to be a child, there's no harm with that. But you have a grown-up stage where your breaking is breaking off your bhavavyadhi, your attraction to come into the world process. Breaking of sakamya movement. Mind always moves with a desire. A movement where there is no desire. In desire movement, all things that you gain are like things in a dream. They are not reality. But when you break the bow, things that you attain, they are revelations. Things are not things. Like the sun reveals itself, but not in one stage. You get little light first. Then there is more light. There is more light. Agni Jyotirmayananda Shukla. Uttarayana path describes it. First, go on developing viveka, vairagya, viveka. Your daily life becomes a life of kind of a sacrifice type of life. Your heart begins to open up to divine feeling. All this is coming not automatically. They are revelations. They are not creations of karma. Karma does not create goodness. Karma doesn't create truth. So there are two stages. In one stage, mind has not come to that understanding. It is going after desire and its fulfillment. In another stage, mind has come to the understanding that the goal is liberation. And in liberation, all this world and time, space become just like a dream, and dream is not your goal. You wake up from it. Parashuram says, "O kingly boy, don't bring grief to your parents. In brief, I'm going to kill you." If you say like that, you ridicule my attainment, ridicule me in any way, I will kill you. And that will bring great grief to your parents. Remember, he shows his axe called farsa. See how terrible it is. Even the very sight of it destroys demoniac babies even in their womb, even the mother's womb, to figure out what it means. Implying that the very source of demoniac movement cuts down by Parashurama movement. बिहास्य लखन बोले मृदुबानी अहो मुनीश महाबतमानी. Lakshmana laughed and yet with very soft speech, said, O Lord of sages, Munishwar, you consider yourself a great warrior. Again and again you are showing your axe. As if you want to do the magic of putting out your breath, blowing. To lift up the entire mountain, to blow away the mountain by your breath. And that's a kind of subtle point. Your great strength to attain worldly enjoyment, worldly things, that great strength is that his axe that allows the soul to go on attaining great things, good karmas. But that great axe cannot blow away bhava vyadhi, the disease of the world process. You can describe the great power of karma and your foxy nature, how you can create wonderful karmas. All that you can describe, but all that strength remains little compared to the higher goal where you have to blow away your fascination for the whole world process. Rama represents that mountain type. Parshurama's strength becomes little, like a bird wants to blow away the whole mountain. The Upanishad calls it alpam and bhuma. Alpam, little. Bhuma, infinite. यहाँ कुम्हर बतिया को नाही, जे तरजनि देखी मर जाही. Here Rama is saying, turning to keeping Rama in view, Lakshmana is describing himself and Rama in that plane of bhuma. Says, in this, for us, we are not kumharabatiya. Kumharabatiya is when pumpkin is in a very little bud, little stage, comes like a little finger, early stage. You see it in a flower, look into it and you see it's going to form into a fruit. It's not formed into a fruit, but farmers recognize it. And when they recognize it, they tell their children, don't put finger near it. Move away. Show a special respect. And it is believed that if you put finger on it, even that much of energy radiating from your finger can destroy it. And that has a science of its own. It's not completely fake story. Flowers, birds, creation, they have great relation with human being. Sometimes you play good music and it spurs up many of the vegetation in a special way. You won't go there, and your radiation, what type of radiation comes from you, influences them. So it is not just a story. And coming to another higher level of meaning, all human attainments come within the range of finger pointing. But the attainment of liberation goes beyond finger pointing. You have to figure that out. In other words, worldly attainment, you can create a quantitative evaluation, and you can point to yourself, who have attained all that much. That one has not attained at all. Coming to a very practical level, in each time you are initiated into mala, you are told how to repeat your mala. This finger is not allowed to touch your mala, because this finger does finger pointing. As long as your mind is constantly looking into others, their stories, their garbage, and you find lots of mistakes in others, and you keep yourself busy talking about them. But each time you finger point, 3 fingers point to you, and your mind doesn't see that. Work with your garbage. You have many garbage things. Keep your house free of bacteria, disease germs, instead of estimating all the things that people have to terminate. Don't go into termination business. And that's the subtle point behind Lakshmana saying, we are not, we cannot be targeted by the index finger. Kumarbatiya, minds that are going after little things of the world, they become extremely affected just by finger pointing. You can experiment it. Meet a person, say, I don't like you. And you will face a big reaction. And that's an example of Kumarbatiya. Okay. Respect Kumarbatiya. देख कुठार सरासन बाना, मैं कछु कहा सहित अभिमाना. Seeing your axe and bow and arrow, I said these words with great pride. भृगुसुत समुझ जनेऊ बिलोकी, जो कुछ कहूँ रहाऊँ श्री सरो की. And knowing that you have descended from Sage Vrigu, and you have sacred thread on your body. Lakshmana says, because of this hereditary line of revealing your Brahmanahood, your saintly source, I endure, or I bear with all that the things you have said. Lakshmana is saying to Parshuram. Sura mahi sura hari janang arugai, hamare kul in parna surai. In our family line, Rama says, we do not show our valor against God, against Brahmin, against devotees of God, against cows. Follow, if you understand it profound. You are following the Uttarayana path leading to liberation. Ego-based energy, that means anything that sustained by egoism, that is not reverenced, that is not recognized as in order. God, Brahmin, devotee, cow relates to that spiritual knowledge. Upanishads are called the cows. बधे पाप अपकीरति हारे, मारत हूँ पापरिय तुम्हारे. Any act of inflicting injury on these is considered a great sin. And another point, if one is defeated by them, subtle meaning behind it, if one is underestimated, one gains infamy. In other words, think of Upanishadic knowledge. Upanishadic knowledge is cow. If you respect the cow, you are on the right path. You will be nourished in a spiritual way. And if you are unable to receive the favor of the cow, great is your loss. कोटि कुलिश सम बचन तुम्हारा, व्यर्थ धरहु धनु बान कुठारा. The words you speak are like millions of thunderbolts. You don't have to show your bow and arrow and axe. Your words are sufficient. Apparently, he's showering all that on Parashuram. Mystically, he is showering all this at the world of desire, things that are considered helpful to you, that make you successful, and they are recognized by masses as symptoms of great valor. And in this Rajasic world, it is not so much the quantity of things that you have, and you don't need to have lots of strength, bows and arrows or other instruments to hurt others. In this world, words do greatest damage. Words are enough to create lots of. So, vyartha dharahu dharmu. There's no need for you to go after bringing bow and arrow or using other weapons. It's being highlighted again, this relative world and your fascination for it. The relative world has so much defect in it that you don't have to go after details. Even the palavras coming out of the people are enough. जो बिलोक अनुचित कहूँ क्षमहु महा मुनि धीर सुनी सरोष रघुवंश मनि बोले गिरा गंभीर. O sage, if I have uttered anything improper, please forgive me. Here again, that type of forgiveness that Lakshmana is talking about in a higher plane. In the plane of Parashuram, that forgiveness operates in a different way. So in brief, Parashuram expresses with great anger. Let me clarify that point for you. In advanced level, when you have committed a mistake, you realize some mistake has occurred, mistake in your thinking, or whichever way, you deal with that mistake, not going after finding an instrument to counteract the mistake, but just like you move away from darkness and go to light, not looking for a weapon to cut the darkness. So you don't have to go back either to hurt people or to forgive people. But again, I'm just highlighting the forgiveness aspect. Mind does not hold on to any grudge towards anyone. But that state of attainment is for if you are ready for liberation, if liberation is your goal. But if liberation is not goal, then that's a different matter. There you should not forgive. You must remember your mistakes and learn lessons from them. So that's a whole. Your whole focus is understanding your mistakes, not repeating them, and moving forward keeping, at this time, your mind still holds on to those memories of mistakes and how you have forgiven them. So still you are trapped, that you don't realize. So whole progress is measured on the basis of accounting. But in advanced level, no accounting. You count the toes of God. Surrender. The more surrender, more you have emerged out of all this complex, marshy condition. Now, following the drama, let's realize also these sages have put their artistic writing, that even those who don't have any deep understanding, they will be fascinated. From ancient times, people come together to see the drama of Parshuram and Lakshmana's dialogue. Thousands gather, and I hear the shout coming from both sides. It thrills the audience. And behind that, many great lessons sneak into your heart. And that was the style. So, Parshuram now explodes with anger. Kausika sunahu mandayahu balaku, kutila kala bas nijukula ghalaku. Oh, Vishwamitra, Sage Vishwamitra had brought Rama and Lakshmana. And Sage Vishwamitra, of course, is well aware of the glory of Rama. And Parshuram, addressing Sage Vishwamitra, says, this kid is devoid of wits, kubuddhi, bad intellect. And kutil, crooked. This crooked boy with dull-wit intellect. He is about to be killed by me. In the solar line, Surya Vansha, he is like a dark spot in the full moon. This Bhanu Vansha Rakesa Kalanku, Nipata Nirankus Abudha Asanku. Bhanu Vansha Rakes Kalanku. If I go on deep into it, you will not go into this story. But anyway, when we talk about solar rays, you are referring to Uttarayana Marg, the path where you move from Vairagya to Viveka, to Karma Yoga at its best. Then as you are moving, Bhavana waxes like the moon. In order to be perfect in the line Surya, in Uttarayana Marg, in the solar path, your bhavana should not be tainted. But you, Lakshmana, you are the taint. Taint in the moon, in the line of Suryavansha. This view is not correct, but this, from Parshurama level, what he is representing, this, and these words are used, Nipatinirankus. One who does not follow any restriction, any spiritual restriction. Like elephant that has no ankush on it, you see, just big head and goes anywhere. Uncontrolled personality. Abudh means stupid, no knowledge. Asanku, literally meaning there is no doubting aspect within the person. Absolutely fearless. Fearless not in an advanced way, but unaware. Big tiger has opened the mouth and a little kiddie doesn't know what it is. Parashurama has come, and Lakshmana is a little kid. He doesn't know. That type of abnormal state of personality. काल कवलु हो यही छन माही कहूँ पुकारी खोरी मोहि नाही. In a moment I am going to cut him down. I am declaring to all, no one should blame me. If you want to save his life, teach him, tell him about my pratap, my power. Pratap is glory, my glory. Bal, my strength. Rosh, and my wrath. लखन कहो मुनि सुजसु तुम्हारा तुम्हारी अछत को बरनय पारा. Lakshmana, O sage, who else can you describe your glory better than you can do? And you have already described your glory so many times. नहीं संतोष तत् पुनि कछु कहु जनि रिस रोक दुसह दुख सहु. If you are not satisfied, having described all the glory you have done already, say more. Don't suffer, please. You have taken the pledge of being a hero. You are endowed with patience and mental strength to control agitation. It doesn't befit you to go on shouting with these all of the abusive words. Lakshmana is reprimanding Parshurama. At the same time, showing humility. सूर समर करनी करहीं कहीं न जना वहीं आपु विद्यमान रण जार पाय रिपु कायर कथहीं प्रतापु. Those who are real heroes, they simply do their heroic act. They don't go after describing their act. And their heroic act automatically goes viral. It becomes well known. They don't have to say it. The sun has to simply rise. It doesn't have to start giving out news breaks. In half an hour, sun is coming in the horizon. Be prepared. Again, subtle point. Profound virtues emerge. You don't create them. They are intrinsic. That if you have come to higher level of sadhana and devotion to God has entered, then it's a matter of removing the impurities, removing the clouds. The divine virtues, they will shine up automatically. Sahaj, spontaneous. And therefore, those who are attaining those virtuous qualities, they become humbler and humbler. But in lesser stage, when some quality has been developed, people remember how long they have not said an angry word. 5 days have passed. I'm joking. Every quality that you gain becomes like you have attained something very big. Think of a tree. Every flower comes into it, think big. It doesn't do that. Tree bows down. Lots of flowers and the tree becomes humble. All these are allegorical way of saying, in advanced state of spiritual movement, there is no need for expressing your ego and impressing others. It's spontaneous. Confronting the enemy. Enemy is your gross impurities. In a storyline, that's what Lakshmana is saying. One who is a real hero, when he faces an enemy, he doesn't go on bragging about how strong he is and what he is going to do to the enemy. He just goes into it. The fire has kindled in your house. And you sit near the fire and say, "You little nose, Fire, I have so many things, I'm going to crush him. I'm joking, but try to understand. Instead of doing that, just do it, extinguish the fire. What's the use of all the talks? That's real heroism. And with this, I'm concluding. Story is moving very slowly, but Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukhabhag Bhavet Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.
This is the time for questions. If anyone has one for Swamiji, please raise your hand.
Earlier you were talking about those that are out of tune, and you commented on that there's always a test, and that the test is there to hold people back. And I'm wondering if the testing of students is in a line with this out of tuneness, or if it's just a part of, or if it's a separate thing.
First one to understand is perfectly normal. If a teacher does not do his duty of testing and allowing people who are not deserving, not really fit, and allowing the person to pass, that teacher has not performed his duty. But that's here the topic is not looking down upon that process, but topic is to compare that stage where teacher holds a kind of attitude to the student. It seems like a cruel attitude. But behind that cruelty there is profounder compassion. So do not be fooled by the external appearance. Even surgeons do more cruel things with their sharp knife, and yet they are more it's coming out of compassion. So one should not get confused. Since I have made a pledge not to hurt anybody, so even if the mosquito is there on the nose, you don't want to hurt. I'm joking.